In 1935, a country that had existed for over 2,000 years simply disappeared from the map. Not because of a war, not because of a revolution, but because of a letter. One letter sent to foreign embassies around the world, asking them to stop using a name, and the world just complied. The name Persia, ancient, powerful, loaded with thousands of years of meaning, was erased from official use in a matter of months, and most people alive today have no idea it even happened. Here's what most people think they know. Persia was this ancient empire. Alexander the Great conquered it. It faded into history and somehow became the Iran we know today. But the real story involves the rise and fall of dynasties spanning 2,500 years, a nationalist movement that rewrote a nation's identity from the ground up, and a question historians still debate today. Was the name change a reclamation of identity, or a tool of authoritarian control? By the end of this video, you'll understand why that question reveals something profound about nationalism, colonial pressure, and how empires die and nations are born. Long before anyone called it Persia or Iran, the Iranian plateau was already ancient. Around 1,000 years before Christ, a group of people migrated from the Central Asian steppes. They called themselves Aryans, meaning noble, in their ancient Indo-Iranian language. They spread across the plateau and split into two major groups, the Medes in the northwest and the Persians, or Parsa, in the southwest. For centuries, the Persians were a minor, subordinate group. That all changed with one man. His name was Cyrus, and what he built was unlike anything the world had ever seen. In 559 before Christ, Cyrus II became king of a small Persian kingdom. Within 30 years, he had created the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from modern Turkey to the borders of India. How? Military genius, yes, but also something shockingly radical for the ancient world: tolerance. When he conquered Babylon in 539 before Christ, he issued what many historians consider the world's first declaration of human rights, the Cyrus Cylinder, decreeing freedom of religion and the right of deported peoples to return home. The Jewish exiles in Babylon, Cyrus let them go home. This is why he's one of the only non-Jewish rulers in the Old Testament called a Messiah. The empire Cyrus founded, the Achaemenid Empire, reached its peak under Darius and Xerxes. Persepolis was a marvel of engineering and artistry. It wasn't just an empire, it was a model for every empire that came after. And then Alexander arrived. In 334 before Christ, Alexander of Macedon crossed into Persian territory, and within 7 years, the Achaemenid Empire was gone. In 330 before Christ, Persepolis burned. Whether it was a drunken accident or a calculated political act, revenge for Persia's invasion of Greece, the consequences were devastating. Alexander took the royal treasury on 20,000 mules and 5,000 camels, draining the economic lifeblood of the Persian heartland overnight. But the Persian identity didn't die. As he aged, Alexander became obsessed with Persian culture, adopting Persian dress, court rituals, and language. The Persian bureaucratic system was so advanced that he kept it entirely intact. The Greek conqueror of Persia essentially became Persian in the ways that mattered most. When Alexander died in 323 before Christ, his empire fractured. His successors could hold the land, but they could never hold the culture. The culture was waiting. The Parthians pushed the Greeks out of Persia and built an empire that collided repeatedly with Rome. In 53 before Christ, at the Battle of Carrhae, a Roman army of 35,000 men was annihilated. The general Crassus was killed. His head was sent to the Parthian king as a trophy. It was one of Rome's most humiliating defeats in history. Then, in 224 Anno Domini, a new Persian dynasty, the Sassanids, consciously revived Persian civilization. They promoted the Persian language, codified Zoroastrianism as the state faith, and saw themselves as direct heirs of Cyrus and Darius. At their peak, they were among the most sophisticated civilizations on earth. But in the 7th century, something was rising in Arabia that would end the Sassanid Empire and set in motion the chain of events that leads to 1935. In 636 Anno Domini, Arab Islamic armies broke the Sassanid military at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Within a decade, the empire was gone. The last Sassanid king was murdered by a local miller in 651 Anno Domini. The Arab conquest is often framed as a cultural replacement, but that's almost exactly backwards. The Persians accepted Islam, and then transformed it. Persian scholars and administrators became the intellectual backbone of the early Islamic caliphates. The Abbasid Caliphate was, in many ways, more Persian than Arab in its cultural orientation. Then, in the 9th and 10th centuries, a Persian literary renaissance erupted. Ferdowsi completed the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, 60,000 verses retelling the mythology and history of Iran, one of the longest poems ever written by a single author. It used almost no Arabic loanwords at a time when Arabic dominated all scholarship. Ferdowsi was making a point that would echo all the way to 1935. Here is the most important fact in this entire story. Iran is not a modern invention. It is a direct phonetic descendant of the ancient word Aryana, the land of the Aryans, the Indo-Iranian peoples who migrated onto the plateau thousands of years ago. In Avestan, the language of the Zoroastrian scriptures, the land was called Eryana Veja. Over centuries, this evolved through Middle Persian as Iran into modern Iran. The word has been in continuous use for over 3,000 years. From inside the country, it had always been Iran. Persia was imposed by outside observers, derived from one southwestern province, inherited by Greeks and Romans, and passed down through Western education, like calling the United States Virginia because the first English settlements were there. When Reza Shah officially requested that foreign governments use Iran in 1935, he wasn't inventing a new name. He was insisting that the outside world finally use the name Iranians had always used for themselves. Reza Khan was born in 1878 in a mountain village in northern Iran. Poor family. Almost no education. By his 20s, a soldier in a military unit trained and officered by Russians. This detail matters because the Iran he grew up in was being eaten alive by foreign powers. Britain and Russia had carved it into spheres of influence. The Anglo-Persian Oil Company extracted Iranian oil, while the Iranian state received almost nothing. Iranian sovereignty was largely theoretical. In 1921, Reza Khan led a coup and seized control of the military. By 1925, he had crowned himself Shah, founding the Pahlavi Dynasty. His model was Ataturk in Turkey, secular, westernized, modernized by force. He built roads, railways, universities. He banned the veil, forcibly. He mandated Western dress. He crushed tribal autonomy. And he built a nationalist mythology around pre-Islamic Persian greatness, using Persepolis as propaganda. His message to Iranians: we are the heirs of Cyrus, not colonized vassals. In that context, the name change of 1935 makes complete sense. But there's a darker layer. Reza Shah's Iran and Nazi Germany had warm diplomatic and economic relations throughout the 1930s. German engineers helped build Iranian infrastructure. Some Iranian intellectuals engaged with Nazi racial theory, seeing the Aryan concept as validation of Iranian greatness. When the name change to Iran was requested in 1935, just 2 years into Hitler's rule, it raised eyebrows. Was it a signal of alignment with Nazi ideology? Or simply a long overdue correction with unfortunate timing? Scholars are genuinely divided. Many Iranian historians argue the name had been in internal use for millennia, and the formalization was primarily about national dignity. Others point to documented correspondence suggesting the change was partly meant to signal that Iranians were Aryan in the Nazi sense. In 1941, Britain and the Soviet Union invaded Iran and forced Reza Shah to abdicate. Citing his relationship with Nazi Germany, his son took the throne. The name Iran remained. One more layer. Ethnic Persians have never been the only people in this land. Modern Iran is extraordinarily diverse. Persians make up roughly 50% of the population. The rest are Azerbaijani Turks, Kurds, Arabs, Baloch, and dozens of other groups. When the world called the entire country Persia, it was erasing non-Persian identities, like calling the United Kingdom England. Iran, land of the broader Indo-Iranian peoples, is actually more inclusive than Persia. But Iranian nationalism has also been used to suppress minority cultures. Kurdish rights restricted. Azerbaijani language education limited. The name may be more inclusive in theory, but in practice, it has often meant Persian cultural supremacy. So the name change was simultaneously a legitimate reclamation of an ancient self-designation, a tool of nationalist modernization, an accidental parallel to Nazi ideology, and a mechanism of centralizing Persian cultural power, exactly as complicated as everything else in Iranian history. So how did Persia become Iran? The honest answer is, Persia never stopped being Iran. The people always called it Iran. Persia was always a foreign imposition. When Reza Shah sent that letter in 1935, he wasn't creating a new nation. He was insisting the outside world see the country the way its people had always seen it. That's the part no one told you. Because underneath the geopolitics, the dictator's ego, and the Nazi connections, there's something more fundamental. A civilization's insistence on the right to name itself. A civilization that survived Alexander, the Arab conquest, and the Mongols, absorbing each conqueror while preserving something essential. Ferdowsi knew this when he wrote the Shahnameh 1,000 years ago and declared he had made the Persian language immortal. He was right. Persian is still spoken by over 100 million people. The civilization Cyrus founded in 550 before Christ is still in its modern form one of the major cultures of the world. Iran is not the country that used to be called Persia. Iran is the country that was always called Iran, that the world is finally calling by the right name.